it comes to that. I mean, how dark is it underneath the wave top that most people exist on the internet? I mean, how close have you gotten to seeing something that you wish that you could just erase from your brain? How gnarly is it down there? I know the dark web or the deep web, I don't know the right term for it. How bad is it?
It's really bad. I mean, it's probably the most vile thing in the world. I mean, I don't think you can get much worse than it. I use an analogy sometimes to people, or just a question, really. If you were going to hire a murderer or a child rapist, if you had to choose one, who are you going to hire?
Could you hire the murderer to murder the child rapist?
Yeah, that's a good answer. That's the first I heard of that one. But I mean, for most people.
I like to think outside of the box.
Yeah, hey, I'm all for that. If that's an option, let's do it.
I would go fund that.
It's a no-brainer for most people. They're going to hire the murderer.
Yeah,
it's the most vile crime that you could possibly do.
For sure.
Once you do something like that, or you're around something like that, I don't believe there's any getting better. I don't believe going to therapy or going to prison or anything is going to fix these guys. I think that I do believe that they deserve the death penalty. So I'm pretty extreme about it, and you can, and there are people out there, sadly, that support these guys, want to reduce their sentences, and that's a whole different discussion with politics that I don't even want to get into.
The recidivism rate is what it is. I mean, the stats are back on this. Super high level of repeat offender, regardless of the punishment that is thrown at them, if they get the opportunity to offend again.
Yeah, they should have the opportunity to offend again.
I agree with you.
What I'm saying, and I know I can't make that decision, but what I can do is try to, expose as many of them as possible, try to take as many kids out of captivity, if that's what the situation is, as possible, and educate as many parents as I can using various social media outlets, with short form content, just so they know, hey, maybe if I hand that iPad to my kid and makes them stop crying for a few hours, they realize that they're not connecting them to the world, not just to YouTube TV where they're watching cartoons. It doesn't mean every kid is going to end up in a social media app or in the comments, finding somebody communicating with a stranger. But if you don't know what to look for, you don't know. And I believe that if you can prevent it from happening in the first place, you're going to have a way better chance at eradicating the issue, rather than identifying these people after they've done something horrible, caused trauma on a child and their family forever. Maybe a death penalty does happen at that point, which I believe is great, but that doesn't fix the child that was hurt prior. That kid now has to live that way for the rest of their life. And I think that and it's not the parent's fault. I'm not trying to say it's a parent's fault for not understanding these things. But the more people that I can educate about these topics, the better. And I've learned, not just by my own opinion, not just by comments I see on the internet, by people in real life where they've made actual changes that, like I said earlier in this conversation, that have produced real results, or they found messages between strangers that were alarming and that they would have never known to look for before, because they just thought, oh, it's a kid's application like Roblox. There's 75 million active users on that site. And they don't realize, most parents don't realize, that a ridiculous amount of adults also play the game.
Yeah.
There's erotic role play in the game. There's things
Minecraft as well. Yeah.
Minecraft as well. Fortnite matches you up with strangers. Almost all video games do, but some of them are, especially where you can create your own world, they create these environments that are, quote unquote, kid friendly, but they'll have the worst of the worst going on in them. And if you do any research into Roblox condos, for example, you'll see that there are just rooms where these cartoon characters are chatting with each other and talking about sexual things on a children's game.